Hey, my friends, welcome back to episode 10 where we're talking about leading change and how you as a leader can impact change within yourself as well as your team. Welcome to the Frame Out where we're framing out what you need to look and think about before you even roll out a change, right? So just as a quick recap, in our first segment, we really begin to talk in the takeoff about the theory of change and how do you get a fast ROI, return on investment fast. And we talked about 3 major things you have to do that I'm not going to say now. You got to go back and check out that segment to check out. Then from there, we went and talked about the level. And in the level, we really began to talk a little bit about this thing called the change management curve. And there's these key areas that you're going to go through that are hard as shit that you have to go through. In that segment, we talked a little bit about what you're going to see, what you're going to hear, as well as how you should respond. You got to go back and check it out. And then if you think about the last segment, we really began to kind of even talk even more about the mindset that you have to have, right? A growth mindset versus a fixed mindset and what that looks and feels like. But before you even roll out a change, what should you do? Well, there are several key things I need you thinking about that you should do, that you should frame out before you roll it out. So think about this. You have to really begin to think about all the aspects of that person's life. I know most times you don't think about this when you roll out change. You're like, well, it's the best process for the company. It's going to make us a shitload of money. Let's do it, Jim, right? Let's do it, Sarah. Let's do it, Bob. Let's do it, John, right? You got to think about the person and all the aspects. If you can do that well, you can think about where you may find some challenges and some hiccups so that you can get in front of it and get ahead of it, right? So the first thing is processes. The change you're rolling out, how will this change or affect the person's process that they do, right? So if you can think about that, number 1 is process. The next one is systems. What type systems will be adjusted as a result of the change? So the process could be things such as, hey, they do step 1, they do step 2, they do step 3. The system could be, hey, listen, they use this software and it's going to change as a result of the change that we're implementing. The next thing is, hey, what tool? Will tools, T-O-O-L-S, be affected by the change? And if so, how would they be affected with that right there? Which takes us to the next one, which is the person's job role. The new change that we're adding. Are we adding something to their plate that changes their role, right? That we need to go back and look at their roles and responsibilities to kind of say, hey, listen, I know up until this point, this wasn't a part of your role, but now because of the change, here is part of your job role with the new change, right? Now, once we can think about the role, the next segment that we can go into when we can begin to analyze before we even put a change out is critical behaviors. What type of critical behaviors are needed or will be affected by the change, right? When you can begin to think about that, you can begin to talk about this with the person in advance to truly help them with it. From there, once we understand the critical behaviors, the next one is mindset, attitude, and beliefs. And we can lump all of those together. What type of attitude, beliefs, or mindset will be affected by the person because of the change? Now, this is the one area, my friends, we tend to not think about when it comes to our people, right? We don't think about, hey, well, will that mess them up mentally, right? I'm going to give you a perfect example in construction. When we begin to launch technology into construction, let's just say iPads and VR software, all this stuff here, and we just roll it out because, hey, BIM models and all that stuff, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Hey, we're going to do prefab. Man, it's going to be awesome. Did anyone pause to think about the mindset, the beliefs, or the attitudes of our older or mature workers? Like them having to relearn software, relearn computer programming. And many of them didn't even know how to use computers quite frequently, right? We thought about processes, systems, tools, but man, attitude, mindset, how they're thinking about this, how they're feeling. You got to think about that so you can implement that in your communication strategy to help you out with that, right? The next one is reporting structure. Will the change affect the person's reporting structure? How they report out, who they report to, who their supervisor is now. Do they have multiple people that they're looking at? You want to think about that so that you can get ahead of that to ultimately do a great job. The next one is performance review. Will this affect their performance review and how we review them as far as what they're doing? Will this affect? The next stage is compensation. All right. Are we going to have to give more money as a result of putting more responsibility on the person that we're working with? And what does that look like? All right. And then last but not least, my friends, last but not least is location. Will they have to change location physically? Will they have to change location within the city, the state, out of the country, offices? What does that look like? And then how does that affect them? All right. Now, if you can go through that laundry list of change, of those things that could be affected by change, and really begin to write out how each of those areas will affect your people, you can see phenomenal things, my friends, right? So with that being said, I want to finish off with a story. Now, you know I love stories, man. I'm a former animator, so I like cartoons and stories. This story just helps sell points, right? So if you think about the difference between buffalo, right, and cows, right, and cattle, buffalo and cattle, they handle storms differently. Buffalo and cattle handle storms differently. What do I mean? Well, here's what I mean. Cattle look up and they see a storm coming at them. And they get spooked. They get scared because of the storm, because of the weather change that's about to happen. And so they turn and they sprint away from the storm. They try to outrun the storm, right? And here's the crazy part. Typically, they spend a long ass time in the storm because they try to outrun the change that's coming toward them. Now, buffalo, my friend, not so. Buffalo are totally different. Now, word on the street is that buffalo come together when they see the storm coming toward them. They see the weather change coming. They come together and they charge the change. They charge toward the storm and actually run through it. Here's the deal with that. As a result of their change in strategy versus the cattle, they spend less time in the storm, right? Because they actually go through it. So what am I challenging you to do? Well, I'm challenging you as leaders to embrace change. I'm challenging you as leaders to, instead of running from it, looking to complain about it, think big, look toward the future. You are big enough. You can do this, my friends, right? And understand this. Everything in life changes. Everything in life changes or it dies, right? So we have to understand, in order to be great, my friends, it's going to require constant change. So I want to challenge you to be comfortable going through that cycle of leaving your comfort zone, knowing you're going to step into the fear zone, following it up with the learning zone, then the growth zone. But be willing to do that cycle over and over and over again. And you will find that you become your best self over and over and over again because you embrace change with a growth mindset. I want to thank you for tuning in, my friends. Thank you for checking out and hanging out with me here today. Trust me. If you implement these principles, it will make your life phenomenal. I'll see you next episode. So I want to thank you again, my friends, for tuning in to No Bullshit with Alex Willis, the #1 go-to source for the leadership development in the construction industry. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform to be notified when we release new episodes. Now, please remember, we are here for you. We want to hear from you, my friends. So if you are going through any kind of leadership challenge, anything on the job site, anything in the office that you want to discuss and need help with, we want to make sure we are here as a resource for you so that you can be phenomenal both at work as well as at home. So with that being said, my friends, until next time, see you later, my friends.